Park Avenue, and then we'll take it higher.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional home to the Game Sports Show, Canadian franchise Boston Pizza. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, located on 601 Great Northern Road, Sault Ste. Marie. Come in and join Boston Pizza for its numerous specials that are offered. After 9 p.m. daily, come in to Boston Pizza for $9 schooners, $4 rail drinks, and delicious food. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, you're among friends.
Booyah, and it's time for the Game Sports Show. It's yours truly, David McKaig, here live on location from Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie. It is June the 10th, 2018. As I said, we're here at Boston Pizza, and it's after 9 p.m., and we're here for their daily specials. That's the $9 schooners, the Molson Canadian and Coors Light products, along with the $4 bar rails and the half-price off appetizers. As you can tell, we're here on a different day this week. We're here on Sunday, as we had to make an adjustment to this week's show, as yours truly had to partake in some bachelor party events in Southern Ontario and Muskoka this weekend, and let me tell you, it was quite a great time, but we're not going to get into that. That's why, though, the show is on Sunday this week, but for this upcoming week, we will be back to our regular schedule on Thursdays here at Boston Pizza. So if you came by on Thursday and we were not here, my apologies. Hopefully you're here tonight partaking here. It was a great atmosphere at Boston Pizza as always, but we will be back to our usual schedule this upcoming week. Brad Cochimilio and Justin Heiko, I'm going to bring them on in just a few moments. Just going to get through the usual introduction portion of the show and the agenda. And as always, we have an action-packed and exciting agenda tonight. Going to go through a list of our sponsors here. Of course, one of the homes to the Game Sports Show, Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, and also Boston Pizza in general, being a part of the Game Sports Show, and a list of additional sponsors. The Sports Center Bar and Grill, we're the home of the Game Sports Show on Wednesdays, every second Wednesday throughout the summer months. Also, the Wicked Sister, another home to the Game Sports Show in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, and that is on Mondays and sometimes the odd Tuesdays throughout the summer months, but it's always every Monday throughout the season. And a list of additional sponsors here in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario: North Star Sports and Auto, the Superior Pro Shop, The Salon, Discover the Canvas, Northern Critters in Need, Big Brother Big Sister, and Northern Signs. Also over on our cross border, the sister side, the brother side, the relative, whatever side you want to call it, but our friendly neighbors in the United States and Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, Pingator Cleaners being a part of the list of sponsors as well. You can also go to our website at www.thegamesportshow.com to look at our sponsors and also listen to previous shows of the Game Sports Show and get all caught up with the Game Sports Show, and also check out our merchandise. I'm currently wearing the merchandise, as I always wear it proudly. You got the Northern Critters in Need on the left shoulder. You got Big Brother Big Sister on the right shoulder, and we got Northern Signs on the back, and we got, of course, our logo on the front of the shirt. And the shirts are only $25 to order. You can send your email to the Game Sports Show ssm@gmail.com to state how many shirts you need and the sizes that you need, and we will get that delivered to you. You can pay cash upon delivery or through online payment as well. So once again, that is on www.thegamesportshow.com, with 100% of proceeds of the shirt going towards Northern Critters in Need and Big Brother Big Sister. You can follow the show on thegamesportshow.podbean.com and get caught up with the full every day, every upload that we have for the Game Sports Show, for the Game Sports Show, and also for Butch Davis or so in Detroit, Michigan. Tonight's agenda on the show: got myself, Brad, and Justin. We're going to be talking about the newly crowned Stanley Cup champions, that being the Washington Capitals. And I actually think there's somebody who may have had let's say, a more consumed of alcoholic weekend than myself, Alexander Ovechkin. Quite the party he has probably had with winning that Stanley Cup. I don't think he's left that Stanley Cup side, but we're going to get to that in just a few moments. So we're going to discuss the Washington Capitals and to wrap up that series. And obviously we're going to start transitioning to the offseason about the NHL draft. We also have some local news with Drew Bannister going over to San Antonio to be the coach, and a little bit of rumors from our end as well. And we're going to conclude with a little bit of Blue Jays update as well. So without further ado, fellas, I'm going to bring in the boys. Brad to my right, Justin to my left. I'm going to go over to my left first. Justin, how you doing, sir?
Not too bad. Nice weekend here. Nice weather. Nice Stanley Cup final and NBA final this weekend. So keeping us busy, but letting us enjoy the rest of the weekend.
There was a long list of champions this weekend. Well, for a week in sports. Obviously, you have Golden State, who we're going to talk about in our Wednesday edition of the Game Sports Show at Sports Center Bar and Grill, sweeping the Cleveland Cavaliers. Then you got LeBron James, where he's going to go. But now we have the Stanley Cup champions. That is going to be our topic here on the show. The Washington Capitals, who won their first cup over 40-year drought that was erased there. Alexander Ovechkin facing his demons in this current playoffs and coming out on top. A lot of things going on in the world of sports this week, and definitely exciting, must say. Brad, over to you now, sir. How are you?
Always doing well. It's always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Brad Kochmillo, you can check out his articles. He's a part of www.thesuitoday.com. The well-known Brad Kochmillo, the magic man, the top sports guy, the best flow. Just a great guy.
Well, you know what? I mean, you can keep going. I'm not going to argue with anything you said. I mean, I will say I might have the best hair on the panel here, too, as well.
Oh, you definitely have the best hair. Absolutely. And you know what? I'm glad that, you've been a part of the show for a couple months now. Justin, who's been with me for over 3 years, he's still here, so that's a good sign. But obviously, it's great to have you come on a week basis as well. And as I said, it's just going to be us three tonight. We do have, some guests coming up this upcoming week and the following week, and also the entire summer, along with some agenda changes as well, which are not announcing as of yet. But we'll have a lot of agenda changes in terms of where the show's going to be sometimes throughout the week. And we have a big list of guests and interviews that we are going to have this summer. Very excited and looking forward to sharing that news with you all when I am able to. Yes, it is top secret with, let's say, a stamp from the FBI on top of it or from the Canadian Mounted Police. Whatever you want to say, it's top secret. And we will announce it to you, though, when we get to that point when we're able to share that with you. So, fellas, without further ado, you know what I want to get talking about here? I just want to talk about the Stanley Cup playoffs and this first introduction portion. Have a break. We'll come back and talk a little bit more about the celebration of the Washington Capitals and a little bit more hockey news and local, and also going to the offseason in the NHL. And then our third part of the show will conclude with a little bit of baseball talk as well, and a thumbs up and thumbs down for the week. And I must include, can't forget, we're going to have a multiple choice segment in that second point as well. Now, the trivia question, we're going to have this week. I'm going to announce the winner from last week's trivia question. This is just a bonus show, as we obviously do it on Sunday. We're going to keep the trivia every Thursday, just so your listeners know that you're going to have to wait for the announcement of the winner for last week's trivia question for this upcoming show Thursday at Boston Pizza. Justin, Vegas, Washington. Washington wins 4-1. Now, I'm going to start out by saying I didn't predict that the series would only go 5. I thought it was going to go 7. Now, Washington winning in Vegas, probably the best thing that's happened to Washington, because they were able to take the Stanley Cup out to Tiesto in Vegas and party with the Stanley Cup there. I'm sure the Washington fans would have loved to have Ovechkin lift the cup in his home barn, but maybe deep down Washington's happy that they won it in Vegas, because the way they were able to party with that Stanley Cup and all the pictures that were put up online, it certainly seems like Alexander Ovechkin must be the most animated, most excited guy on the planet right now.
I mean, I think they should play the Cup final in Vegas every year. It looked like a riot. I mean, between the lively fans on the glass after the game, you know the fans that I'm talking about. Or, yeah, you know. Yeah. We won't elaborate any further, but everybody knows what fans were talking about.
What?
Yeah, lifted the cup and pressed it up against the glass for everyone to see. But no, it's you know what? It was just a really feel-good story. Like Ovechkin winning the cup. I thought I was gonna hate it, but I liked it. I enjoyed it. Like Scott Oak was killing it in the interviews after the game. Like, just heart-wrenching interviews. Like the TJ Oshie talking about his dad. Like, man, I started to tear up on that. Like Ovechkin hoisting the cup. And Scott Oak's asking him, you got a pregnant wife and you got a kid. How do you feel about your life? I got the cup. Well, you got it. So it was nice to see. Nice to see Washington win. On the other hand, I thought we were going to get more games out of the series. Like, I honestly thought we'd be here watching a Game 6 tonight. Pardon me. Like, I thought Vegas was. Maybe they just ran out of gas. Like, I really don't know what happened, but the Vegas team we saw the entire playoffs seemed to have vanished. And maybe Washington played up to their caliber, and Washington's passing is just filthy. Like, their puck control in tight and in close. Like, no one's going to beat them. No one's going to look better than Washington with their passing up close, puck, with Backstrom, Ovechkin, those guys. Like, no one's going to beat them. And so maybe Vegas finally met their match. Maybe Winnipeg beat on Vegas more than we knew. Maybe J.R. Smith made Marc-Andre Fleury really mad at the end of Game 1 and he punched the whiteboard. I don't know. But I don't know. It was good to see, and I really do. Like, it was good for hockey, I think, that final. To have your expansion team, not make it to the Cup final. I don't think we're ever going to see that again. I mean, Seattle, maybe.
Who knows?
But it was just a crazy season. Just this NHL season was entertaining from the day it started in October to the day it ended Thursday. So, I don't know. All in all, good Cup final.
Definitely bittersweet that the National Hockey League season is concluded, but we're jumping into the offseason. We're going to get to that here on the show in just a few moments. Brad, Stanley Cup final, Washington wins in 5. As Justin was saying, it ended more quickly than people imagined. Also, we have a Sioux native, Colin Miller, who did not get the opportunity to hoist the Stanley Cup, and I had the opportunity to reach out to him and text him, and you could tell on his emotion that he was a little upset. Obviously, rightfully so, right? If you lose the Stanley Cup and get that close. And I remember telling him through text he has everything to be proud of this year. He had a great year himself and with the team, and they have a team that's going to be very exciting to watch for the near future. And just the things that Vegas was able to do this year is definitely amazing, right? And now for them to lose to Washington 5, they may think of it as a failure, but Washington came out and they matched Vegas' intensity. Devontae Smith-Pelly was, I feel, a diamond in the rough in that whole series. Love the presence that he brought for Washington. Ovechkin, so animated. Carlson, as you just said off air, the guy is going to get a massive payday this year. Just get your view on how the Stanley Cup final was in your perspective. Did it end too quickly, or did it end the way it should have ended? And how about Washington partying with that cup?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I felt like Washington was going to win that series. It's no secret that I was on their bandwagon for the series, but I was surprised. I expected that to be a 6 or 7 gamer. Now, basically, the only hockey we have left is the American Hockey League final between Toronto and Texas, which could be over, I believe, tomorrow or Tuesday night. I mean, you know what? It's great for Washington. I mean, I feel like I'm kind of on the bandwagon in the sense that I feel like Vegas maybe did run out of gas in the final, but. I mean, that being said, I also felt like Washington was the better hockey club, and I felt like, that was going to be their series to take. Now going forward, I mean, this is, end of season. I'm gonna jump out and say it now that I'm gonna be curious to see how this affects Vegas in the sense that, I mean, they've set a very high expectation now. They went to a Cup final in their first year. So the key question now is it going to be how this affects in the long run. Fans who don't follow hockey in Vegas are going to have this expectation that, well, geez, this must be easy. We went to the Cup final in our first year. So they got to find a way to keep the momentum next year. Doesn't mean you have to go to a Stanley Cup final, but you got to make sure this team doesn't miss the playoffs, which would be an absolute disaster, I think. It's going to be, I mean, that's going to be the biggest thing for me is to see how Vegas rebounds next year.
Absolutely. Look at the players that they have going up for free agency that you have to look at as well. There's a list, and we had Marc-Andre Fleury come out within the last 24 to 48 hours stating that he wants to end his career with Las Vegas. He wants to end his career at Golden Knight, which is rightfully so. Look, he had some success in Pittsburgh. Just kidding, to some. The guy won a couple cups. So obviously he had success in Pittsburgh. He went to the Cup finals here with Las Vegas. He's having hockey in a view now that is the most fun that he's ever had. Even more fun than what he had in Pittsburgh. I've never seen Marc-Andre Fleury this happy, this excited, and it really showed in his game that he was happy to be there, and he had a great season with Las Vegas, as did everybody on Las Vegas. Carlson, Colin Miller, Marchessault, another great year. Like, he had a good year last year as well, but the list goes on with a lot of guys, and we talked about that on a previous show, all the players' improvements and points. Carlson was the biggest wow, right? The guy had under 30 points last year, and the guy gets over 40 goals this year. So at the end of the day, there's going to be a lot of questions that need to be answered, though, on Las Vegas' end, what they're going to do going into next year. But I think this year, it gives them the opportunity to be an attractive piece to players to come. Look at, for example, Ilya Kovalchuk. The guy has been interested, apparently, to reach out to the Los Angeles Kings. It sounds they have been the teams of his interest and mutual interest. They've had talks. But also interests me that if Las Vegas will reach out to Kovalchuk. It makes me wonder if Las Vegas is going to reach out to Erik Karlsson on the Ottawa Senators. It makes me wonder how Vegas is going to be approaching the free agency, how they're going to approach the draft, how they're going to do things, because they got a bunch of guys who, let's face it, got a second chance to be in the National Hockey League this year. Majority of them. Majority of the other side were people that were NHL hockey players that were ready, but didn't get that opportunity to prove that they were impact hockey players. And on the other side of the scope, Washington. There's a team that also has to face a dilemma about having to re-sign players. One, Johnny Carlson. That's it, almost essentially. You can name off the other guys, but that guy's going to get a double what he got in his current contract. As you said, Brett, I think he's making 4.2, 4.5, around that whole area, right? He's doubling that. He's getting 8 this year. He is getting $8 million. Is he worth it? Yeah, I think so. I think he's a number one defenseman. I think he has, and we put him on the power play with some lethal weapons. He'll set up those guys, right? So, and there's teams that are looking for defensemen. And no, I'm not saying Toronto's going after Karlsson. I think it's too heavy of a price tag. So, to saying there's a lot of guys out there that are available for both these teams, not just Vegas, Washington as well, but I think the pressure, as you said, Brad, is more on Las Vegas side about trying to come back next year and do the same thing. But Justin, I'll go over to you, slide into that. They had the opportunity to do that. I think they have a team that might not face the sophomore slump. I don't want to be cursing or saying anything out to Las Vegas, but I think they have a great team, great energy. They're well coached. Charles Gallant has proved that he can coach the National Hockey League, a guy that we thought was going to get removed after this year, after they didn't make the playoffs, but boy, were we wrong. So does Vegas have the chance to be able to repeat this year to get at least the Stanley Cup playoffs next year?
I mean, it seemed like the entire Vegas team seemed to play loose all year. Like the entire, from game one up until the last game on Thursday, that team played loose. At no point did that coach have them, making them feel like their backs are up against a wall, where they come in, do your thing. If it works, it works. And that's looked like how they played all year, from start to finish. If they keep that going next year, with the right leadership group in the locker room, you're probably okay. Don't quote me on this, but I think there's only 9 guys signed through the end of next year.
We're on there.
So it is going to be a little tricky. Like, you can't, I mean, as much as you want to put the captaincy on the goalie, I don't necessarily know that you can. Like, I'm assuming they'll have England back next year. Karlsson is probably a no-brainer. Marchessault is probably a no-brainer. James Neal is going to sign with whatever team loses in the Cup final next year. So, however you want to shake that out. Or he's the new Marian Hossa, and he's going to have back-to-back, losing Cup finals and then go on a run. And sign with Chicago, and away he goes. You never know. Honestly, it wouldn't look bad with... Never mind, we're not going there. But if Vegas can retain some of the players that they had from this year and keep that group intact, I don't think they'll have a problem going into next season.
And attracting players.
If you lose a certain amount of players and you don't... What you replace those outgoing players with isn't really of the same mindset. Because it's not really a talent thing in Vegas, I don't think. I think it's more of a buying into the atmosphere kind of thing. You get players that are willing to buy into the system that Gallant's got going on there, then I think they're going to be successful. I don't want to say it, but maybe it's a little too early on to make comparisons, but you have these players in football that don't seem to fit anywhere, and they go to New England and they work. And Vegas seemed to be a team of misfits this year, and they embraced it and they rolled with it. I mean, we'll see what next year has to offer. They're not going to be misfits anymore, so...
The pressure is going to be all over Vegas to repeat, to get to the playoffs. I don't know about the Cup final, but they're definitely going to be an attractive piece for players now. If I was a free agent, I would consider going to Vegas in a heartbeat.
There's more pressure on the Leafs to make it to the second round than there is for Vegas to make it to the playoffs next year.
You think?
100%.
Brad, what do you think?
Yeah, I would jump on board with that. I mean, let's face it. I mean, Toronto is a very different market. It's one of those. It's one of those things that, I mean, if you're Vegas, you set the expectation, but I mean, I think there's enough people there that, let's say they don't make the playoffs next year. Like I feel like this is a playoff team next year regardless, but let's say the crazy happens and they don't make the playoffs. Yes, I think some fans will leave, but that will be mostly the fans that, just assume that they had a team for years. Which there are a few, which is the funny thing. That's a position where they'll lose fans, but I feel like they'll also gain fans in the long term. I don't think it would be a catastrophe if something like that were to happen, but I mean, you want to avoid that scenario at all costs. But definitely Toronto, there's a lot more pressure in a market like Toronto than there is in a market like Las Vegas, without a doubt.
Good point. Vegas coming into this year as the expansion team didn't even have a prayer apparently to make the Cup Finals. Not only did they make the Cup Finals, they made the playoffs, and they broke records winning over 50 games this year. Definitely sets the precedent maybe for Seattle to make that. And spoiler alert, Seattle's probably getting a National Hockey League team. But to wrap up the Stanley Cup final talk with these two teams, before we go to our first break, gentlemen, and when we come back from a break, we're going to kind of stem off from this topic, but the Washington Capitals, they won the hockey game. It was a great hockey game. Alexander Ovechkin got the Conn Smythe Trophy. I actually thought Marc-Andre Fleury was still going to get it. I thought that was a thing that they were going to see another J.S. Giguère moment, almost essentially. And to be honest, I know Ovechkin had a fantastic playoffs. He really did. I couldn't think of him having any better of a playoffs than he did. But I really think that Marc-Andre Fleury should have been the winner of that Conn Smythe Trophy, to be totally honest. Especially, people think this wouldn't be a factor, but in his home barn too, would have been nice to see that happen. Marc-Andre Fleury got snubbed from that, I think, just not by a laughing amount, just by that little bit, that the entirety of the playoffs, Marc-Andre Fleury was stunning. So was Ovechkin. But I got to say, Fleury should have been the Conn Smythe winner. But nonetheless, Ovechkin gets it. It's the second time he goes and sees, Bettman the second time, he's grabbing that Stanley Cup. And I haven't seen that much excitement for someone lifting the Stanley Cup since almost Ray Bourque when he lifted with the Colorado Avalanche. There's been players that are excited, like Chara when he got it in Boston. There's Johnny Taves, Marian Hossa when he got it. Look, there's don't get me wrong, but that excitement, I haven't seen that in some long time now. And crying is emotion. There's somebody that wanted that Stanley Cup. Nobody wanted that cup more than Ovechkin, and he got it. Okay, and he was animated. He called over Nick Backstrom. I don't know who picked that between us, but I remember picking Barry Trotz, who I thought he was going to give the cup to second. Yeah, you think you had Niskanen? I think Justin. We'll have to go back and ask producer about that one. And I just think that giving it to Backstrom made sense. He carried it out on the air, playing with Backstrom, because they've been all through this animosity together. I thought Barry Trotz was going to get it. And speaking of Trotz, there's a guy that they want to sign this year. And speaking of off-season stuff, but just all in all, Washington, that pure excitement that they had. And obviously we had a fan show their skin a little bit too much in the glass. There's a lot going on with that Stanley Cup celebration. But a lot of excitement, and Ovechkin's got to be that animated guy, and that's what's going to stick in my mind. And that's the passion you want to see. That's what we want to see as hockey fans, is somebody who wanted it more than anything. He wanted that more to breathe. He could have had that and probably just left this world and not cared, because he got what he wanted. Brad?
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I mean, that's what you want in a Stanley Cup champion. That emotion is exactly what you look for. I mean, there are pictures floating around on social media now of Alex Ovechkin sleeping with the Stanley Cup.
Kicking out his wife from the bed, I think.
Yeah, which I don't know is a very good idea. I don't know that, as much as I would love to win a Stanley Cup, that's not something I would do.
Especially with her.
Yeah. I mean, he may be sleeping on the couch for a while, but he's probably sleeping on the couch with Lord Stanley, so I'm not sure he minds that much. But, I mean, just the sheer excitement, the sheer enjoyment. He's he's acted like, I mean, he's always had this bit of a reputation, but like he's almost like a little kid in a candy store with the Stanley Cup, and it's so great to see. I mean, that's just like, that emotion is just absolutely outstanding. There's no other way to put it for me.
It makes you love the game that much more if there's a way that we could love it more. Sweet Emotion by Aerosmith. That's a song that goes through my head when I see him lifting that Stanley Cup. Justin, we're going to go to you right when we come back from break. We're going to hear from our sponsors. When we come back, we're going to talk a bit more of the Washington Capitals, Las Vegas, Stanley Cup Final, more so on the Washington side, and what Ovechkin's been doing post-Stanley Cup Final Game 5. And then we're going to get into some off-season talk a little bit more, along with some local news with Bannister and our multiple choice segment as well. So you don't want to go anywhere. It's Dave McKeag alongside Justin Heichel and Brad Cochimilio here on the Game Sports Show. We'll be right back after these messages.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional home to the Game Sports Show, Canadian franchise Boston Pizza. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, located on 601 Great Northern Road, Sault Ste. Marie. Come in and join Boston Pizza for its numerous specials that are offered. After 9 p.m. daily, come in to Boston Pizza for $9 schooners, $4 rail drinks, and delicious food. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, you're among friends.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank a list of additional sponsors. North Shore Sports and Auto, new location located on 647 McDonald Avenue, Sault Ste. Marie. A family-owned and operated business with doing business in Sault Ste. Marie for over 10 years. Loads of products available for your enjoyment for all seasons. North Shore Sports and Auto, we understand the importance of quality service and products, and we work hard to ensure that all customers have a positive experience before and after each and every sale. North Shore Sports and Auto, meeting all of your new and pre-owned equipment needs. Special thanks to Salon. The Salon, located on 589 2nd Line East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Owned and operated by Mike Cuglietta. Book your appointment today at 705-941-9191 or via online at https://thesalonsioux.as.me-. The Salon, making the Sioux beautiful, one haircut at a time. As well as a shout out to the Superior Pro Shop. The Superior Pro Shop, located inside the Community First Credit Union Superior Arena on 285 Northern Avenue East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Owned and operated by Jeremy Paquin and ran by Larry Monroe. Superior Pro Shop, for over 40 years, meet all of your skate sharpening, skate repair, and hockey needs. Also to Discover the Canvas. Discover the Canvas, located on 317 Wellington Street West, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. A beautiful new renovated building owned and operated by expert artist and Sioux native Katrina Thibodeau. Katrina taking her talents of the ink in Sault Ste. Marie and truly creating the best and most realistic art locally. Call Katrina today at 705-450-8099 or email her at discoverthecanvas@gmail.com to book your tattoo or consultation today.
Hi, it's Craig Hartsburg, former NHL player and NHL coach. Welcome to the Game Sports Show.
Welcome back to the Game Sports Show. It's yours truly, David McKeag, alongside Brad Cochimilio and Justin Heichel, enjoying some Molson products here. It's after 9 p.m., so it's their daily specials, the $9 schooners, the $4 bar rails, and the half price off appetizers at Boston Pizza, where you're among great friends, and it's great food. And the bringer of beer, Mitch Wilson, the best beer bringer in Sioux, Ontario. And, of course, Lauren, the best waitress, one of the best waitresses in Sioux, Ontario as well. There it is. And also with good friends in company with myself as well. But, fellas, we're going to continue the topic from where we started before we went to break. Alex Ovechkin and the Washington Capitals winning the Stanley Cup. Las Vegas losing to the Washington Capitals in 5 games in the 2018 Stanley Cup Finals. Barry Trotz, wow, I stumbled that out of my mouth there. You know, having a lot of awards he's won as an individual. Finally gets a Stanley Cup that he's been long waiting. You know, he's had a great history of coaching Nashville. You know, he's done great with Washington here, and they finally get that break. Ovechkin lifting that Stanley Cup for the first time since his career started, obviously, but he had so many opportunities with so many good hockey teams that didn't get there. And everyone wrote him off this year as well. But Caps fans believed our year, and nonetheless, they won the Stanley Cup. But we were talking with Brad before we went to break, Justin, about Ovechkin's habits right now with Lord Stanley, and the guy is certainly enjoying his time with the Stanley Cup and partying literally like it's 1969, the summer of 69, quote-unquote Brian Adams. Partying like a rock star. Now we're taking some songs there. Okay. So, Justin, with you, Vegas must have been in that locker room and must have heard Ovechkin yelling, yeah, as soon as he lifted that cup. Describe that emotion from Vegas quick. So, speaking of sweet emotion, because that's what the topic was before we went to break. That emotion that Vegas is feeling, And now Ovechkin taking the Stanley Cup to watch the Nationals game. Tiesto taking off the airplane and in Washington, sleeping beside the Stanley Cup and kicking his wife out of bed, I believe, based on the follow that we saw. Describe those 2 points.
I mean, to touch on like Ovechkin with the cup, I mean, none of us are surprised. I even think Jay and Dan said that someone needs to put a camera on him just to see what he does with the cup, or have a film crew follow him around to see what he does with the cup. And I mean, none of us have been disappointed so far.
Nope.
As for Vegas and the feelings after the game, I mean, when you lose, it sucks. And I saw some comments, on the cesspool that is Facebook this week, just bashing Fleury, talk after his comments in the game, saying he showed no professionalism, smashing his stick on the way in the locker room. The guy's been to more Stanley Cup finals than anyone in that comment section. And so he's the only one that knows the amount of work it took to get there. And so your GD right that he's mad about losing. He holds himself to a certain standard of excellence that's evidently a lot higher than a lot of other players. And I don't mean that to slight anyone else. We're talking about a guy who's a Hall of Fame goaltender who's seen his fair share of adversity. I mean, we're all of that at this table of that generation where we screamed watching him at the World Juniors. The guy, if anyone knows how to lose, he knows how to lose. And if there's but I don't mean that in a bad way. If there's anyone who's built character off of losing games, it's been Marc-Andre Fleury. There's been no player who's bounced back more than he has off of just nonsense, garbage things happening. The guy is he's made of Teflon. The stuff just rolls off of him. And so to have a guy like that in a locker room that just lost the cup final, I really think it only makes the team stronger. So, it sucks losing, but you're just hungrier next year.
Very good points indeed, Justin. Now, Brad, just kind of touched with that. Emotions that Vegas must be feeling. We described it with Colin Miller. Could tell just by his text messages how he's feeling. But definitely an experience that should be taken in and absorbed, and was definitely a great experience for the team. And Ovechkin, I know you kind of touched on this before we went to break, but you got to tell me out of 10 how much you look forward to seeing Ovechkin post on a day-to-day basis now.
Yeah, as far as Alex Ovechkin is concerned, I mean, it's a daily thing. I mean, I think we all kind of, want to see what he's going to do next. And as far as the emotion of the Vegas Golden Knights right now, I mean, it's the whole idea of you got to lose to learn how to win.
Look at Washington.
Yep. I mean, I go back as a Red Wing fan. I go back to the 95 Cup final when they got swept by New Jersey. 2 years later, they won a cup.
Back-to-back cups?
They went back-to-back in 97 and 98. They lost in the Cup final in 95. They lost in the Western Conference final in 96. Then won back-to-back cups. So I think, as far as Marc-Andre Fleury, hey, you know what? I mean, in a situation like that, you just lost in the Cup final. I'm totally fine with the way it was handled. I mean, on his part, I mean, I'm totally okay with that. For people who are criticizing him, it's hard to criticize a guy unless you've been there. And let's face it, there are not a lot of people that have lost in a Stanley Cup final. There are not a lot of people, and most of the people that are criticizing him have probably never lost in a Stanley Cup final and probably never will.
Sometimes maybe they've never played hockey.
Yeah. And that's the other thing, right? So, it's easy to be critical in that situation, but, I mean, as far as Marc-Andre Fleury is concerned, hey, you know what? I don't blame him one bit. I mean, like Justin said, he holds himself to a high standard. I mean, this is a guy who's won cups before. He's been there. He knows how to do it. So for me, I would take his word over a lot of other people's, and I'm totally okay with it. And you know what? I mean, Vegas, it's going to sting for a while to make it that far. in that situation and then lose. But you know what? In the long run, I'm sure all these guys are going to be better players for what they went through this year.
Absolutely. So everyone who's criticizing Marc-Andre Fleury, back off a little bit. Unless you can prove you've been in the Stanley Cup final and even won the Stanley Cup finals, because this guy has been the heart and soul of Vegas. One of the guys. He's done a great job, and he deserved that Conn Smythe Trophy, as I said a little bit earlier as well. But congratulations again to the Washington Capitals winning Lord's Stanley Cup, and congratulations to Alex Ovechkin, and condolences to Alex Ovechkin's liver. It seems that it will be a little bit out of place, and also condolences to his wife, as Brad just said, because Lord Stanley has taken your place until puck drop in October 2018. Fellas, we got a couple more hockey points to get to, and I'm going to stick with a little bit of the NHL before we go to the local side with Drew Bannister that Brad, I'm going to let you spearhead. We got a couple upcoming events in the National Hockey League. We got the NHL draft. Now, I'm not going to really touch on the NHL draft fully and dissect the information, because we're going to have a preview draft show here on the Game Sports Show on Thursday with who we think is going to go from 1 to 30, and we're going to post that picture on our Instagram page about who picks what, who we feel is going to go where, and even some possible trades that are going to happen. So we're going to get to that type of draft information a little bit later. But the only thing I want to talk about when it comes to the NHL entry draft, which is June the 22nd in Dallas, and it's a draft that they have been saying that if you don't go up on stage in the top 3 picks, it's fair game after that. From 4 to 30, you can get that guy who's a first round talent, but that generational talent is at number 1 with Rasmus Dahlin, who is most likely going to be going to the Buffalo Sabres. You got Svechnikov, who is another guy who Buffalo apparently has been looking at, but obviously it'd be silly to go that route. So you got to think that he will be going second to the Carolina Hurricanes. And then you have the Montreal Canadiens at 3rd, which they'll have options as well. So it's going to be a draft that's exciting, but I'm more excited, to be honest with you, about the trade front on that day. But like I said, we're going to get to that a little bit later this week or next week on the show. The one thing I'm going to bring up, as I said, is the value of this draft. Is it fair to say this is a weaker draft than normal? Let's just flat out say it. We're not going to beat around the bush. Is this a weaker draft than normal? Justin, I'm going to you.
I don't want to say that it's a weaker draft. I think there's more raw talent than we usually see. Like, there's not as many rounded players. At the end of the day, they're still drafting kids who are in high school. So
First year college, too.
Yeah, some of these kids just aren't there yet. So, sometimes you luck out and you get an 18-year-old that steps into your roster right away. Other times you don't have a guy who steps into your roster till he's 24. It happens. I don't want to say that it's a weaker draft than other drafts, because it's offensive to players that we may be talking about in 4 years that are better than we'll ever be at anything. That's fact. So, is it weaker on paper right now in terms of impact players? Yes. In terms of the way we look at it in 4 years from now, this may be one of those drafts where we say, hey, how about that 2018 draft where we were all wrong? It's hindsight's 2022, right? So, I don't know. There's less impact players, yes. So that's where I'm at on that.
Very good points. Brad?
You know what? For me, it's always, and being a guy who basically makes my living in the winter covering junior hockey and, watching guys at this level, it's easy for the quote experts and just people in general to say a draft is weak before it happens. But in the long run, we can't sit here and say the 2018 draft is weak until at least 5 years from now. We're if you look back on some drafts, there have been some outstanding drafts that you look back ahead of time to what people were saying prior to those drafts, and in some cases it's a situation where it was, it's really good at the high end, and then when you get in the middle rounds it's not so great. And you know what? We can't say that at this point. Looking at some of the lists right now, I've seen a handful of these top guys play, and I mean, for me, there's some high-end guys. Like, a kid like Noah Dobson of Acadie Bathurst, like, the kid is rated to go in the top 10 and doesn't get talked about a ton, but the kid's a player. Like, the kid he's the type of kid that, I watched him at the Memorial Cup. He'll go out there and sometimes you hardly notice him, and he has a 4-point night. He's a
defenseman.
Yeah, and he's a defenseman, and a very high-end defenseman at that. A kid like Oliver Wahlstrom. I mean, this is a kid who, has shown his talent as a little kid in a shootout in Boston at TD Garden. Like, we could say going into the draft that it's a weak draft, or that, maybe there's not as many high-end guys, and you know what? That could turn out to be true. But I mean, we can't really say that until 5 or 6 years from now, when we start seeing most of these guys playing pro, because realistically, you're only going to see a few guys. Like, you're going to see maybe 3 or 4 guys in an average year playing pro at 18. So you're going to need to get these guys into their 20s before we start saying, yes, this was a good draft. Yes, this was a weak draft. This was the best draft of all time. This one wasn't so bad. Boy, were we wrong on that draft. Like, it's hard to say now. And I mean, I get that's what people want. And I mean, people probably don't like to, hear that we shouldn't be analyzing a draft ahead of time. But we're talking about 18-year-old kids. We don't know. I mean, Alexander Daig, when you look back, and Alexander Daig, we talk about how he was a bust as a first overall pick, and when it comes to first overall picks, yes, by definition, he was probably a bust, but when you look back, he was still a 50-point guy in the NHL. So, like, realistically, if he doesn't get drafted first overall, you probably look back and you're probably like, yeah, you know what? If he gets drafted in the middle of the first round or at the end of the first round, you're probably looking back and saying, yeah, that was an okay pick. He had an okay career, nothing great, but he was an average player, got in, he's productive. But we put so much hype on this going in that we set this standard for players who are still kids, who are still teenagers, So for me, it's, I get the want and the need for analyzing the draft ahead of time and the excitement, but I mean, to call a draft week ahead of time is kind of tough for me, just for the fact that, I mean, we can analyze it all we want, but we really have no idea how it's going to play out in 5 years.
Very good points indeed, Ben. I couldn't agree more, especially with Noah Dobson. Looking into the kid, I'm a fan. I think that's going to be a very good pick. And you obviously got Brady Tkachuk, who's actually favored to go third of the Montreal Canadiens. So, there's going to be some players here that might surprise a lot of people. But I'm going to even say keep an eye on Mississauga center Ryan McLeod, who's projected to go in the late rounds. In the late of the first round. I apologize. Late in the first round. But I feel he has potential to be a top 20 pick. But we're very interested to see what comes out of Dallas. And I think it's going to be a very trade active draft. I kind of have a feeling that's not going to be a bunch of great names, but there's going to be a lot of movement in picks and with players. And that draft happens on June the 22nd at American Airlines Center in Dallas, Texas at 7 p.m. And here on the Game Sports Show, we're going to have a 2018 NHL mock draft. It will be coming up. And we're going to give you that date right now. And that date is going to be on the 21st. The 21st here, Thursday, the 21st, we will have a draft here on the Game Sports Show telling you who we think is going to go where and even some potential trades that are going to happen as well. Now, fellas, it's a little bit of off-season news / updates / rumors. Let's discuss about John Carlson. Kind of touching a little bit with Washington, but where he will potentially land, or if he's staying in Washington. There's a lot of articles I'm reading that he wants to stay in Washington. Of course, rightfully so, he wants to stay in Washington. Just won a Stanley Cup, and he's been there his entirety of his career. But he's going to get a big payday, as is Ilya Kovalchuk. But not as big as Carlson's, obviously. I think Kovalchuk's going to go in the 5.5 area, but Carlson's going in the 8.5 area, 8 to 8.5. So, fellas, I'm going to ask you this on those guys before we go to our multiple choice segment, where Carlson's going. And, Justin, also, where do you think Kovalchuk's going?
Kovalchuk, it's kind of a crapshoot. I think he's going to do that tour where he goes from team to team to team to team to team, and whoever's going to pay him the most money, that's where he's going to go. It's not going to be a hockey decision. It's not going to be an anything decision. To be completely honest, he'll end up with the Islanders. I really go back to Lamoriello. The Islanders aren't going to have any players to. Well, nothing says, hey, this organization's stable, like firing your coach and GM 2 weeks before you got to negotiate your big franchise's biggest player's contract. So, I mean, if I'm Tavares, I'm saying peace. I don't want to deal with this crappy arena, and I want to go deal with that other crappy arena. I don't want to deal with not having any talent. I don't want to deal with not having any goalies. I'll take less money to go be somewhere else that's talented. And that's, I honestly think that's the argument the Islanders are facing with Tavares. So you still need to put butts in the seats, and you still got to fill the salary cap. Kovalchuk's a guy that'll let you do that. I mean, you're probably going to see the Islanders reassemble the Leafs, Bozak, Van Riemsdyk line. I'm almost confident in that.
Oh, you did say that.
Especially because there's a rumor going around now that the Leafs are trying to trade for a third-line center. So that either means that my buddy Thomas Plekanec isn't sticking around.
Good.
Or our buddy Tyler Bozak isn't sticking around. So, and it definitely means they prefer to keep Nylander on the wing. As far as Karlsson goes, I'm really thinking you're just going to see the old switcheroo here. Vegas is going to put up a ton of money, and Karlsson will end up in Las Vegas.
Not Karlsson?
That's
not Erik Karlsson?
No, that Erik Karlsson thing, I'm buying in hard to this Nashville rumor with PK Subban. Because apparently PK's worn his welcome out in Nashville, which I can totally understand. He seems to have a shelf life wherever he goes. Ottawa needs to have a player that'll buy in, do whatever, and he's close enough to Montreal where all of his business interests are, his charitable interests, everything like that, where he can still save some face and be in Canada. It's hard to run a charity out of a children's hospital in Montreal when you're playing in Nashville. And that line of communication in Ottawa is open from the tourist trade. I mean, this is a rumor that's being bounced around the internet like crazy, so it's not something I've originally come up with, but I'm comfortable embracing that if that happens. I don't think Erik Karlsson's going to Las Vegas. I really don't. I think Ottawa is going to try to strategically maneuver him somewhere as in the way of least harm for them. That's
wow. Imagine Karlsson going over to the team that he defeated. It's like Nick Bonino going to Nashville. Literally the exact same thing, actually, except the stature of player, of course. But Brad, just a quick little, we don't have as many rumors, there's always been the same ramblings about Toronto wants the third line center. They obviously want defense. You got teams that are looking to make active trades. Apparently Carolina's open for sale. Apparently it's just a sign on their door saying for sale. So the big players, obviously this year, a lot of people have their eyes on John Tavares, and John Karlsson. And now thirdly squeaking in there's Ilya Kovalchuk. We've discussed Tavares' options here on the show numerous times, and it definitely seems like he's going to hit that open market. And it makes me wonder about the NHL entry draft if Tavares is going to have his rights traded. Lou's a smart guy, and it makes me wonder if Lou is going to go there and say, look, we have no chance of re-signing this guy. Let's trade his rights to a team, and let's see if that team can sign him so at least we get some gain for him. Because that trade's going to obviously be a conditional pick and maybe a low-level prospect or something, who knows, or just a conditional trade. So you have a potential to say, okay, we'll trade John Tavares, we'll give you a first-round pick and this guy, and that first-round pick is conditional. And if we make the Stanley Cup final, we'll throw another first-round pick in there that's conditional. So Lou's a smart guy for that. So Tavares has been a guy we've talked about, so that's the one area I'll let you touch on. And obviously, to echo what Justin said about Karlsson, interesting going to Vegas, but I want to get your perspective on Karlsson and Kovalchuk as well.
Yeah, I mean, as far as John Tavares is concerned, I mean, if he does, and let's face it, there is the potential that he could get traded at the draft. Absolutely. But I feel like even if he does get traded at the draft, I feel like they still get a big package for him. Conditional picks, conditional players, and the like. I mean, I feel like the Islanders are still going to get a big haul for him, especially if it's a team that's a contender. They're going to be willing to pay for a guy like John Tavares. As far as John Carlson is concerned, I mean, they're coming off a Stanley Cup. I feel like Washington re-signs him. I feel like Washington just doles out the money and says, "Here, you know what? You're one of the top defensemen in the league at this point. How much do you want? That's how much you want? Okay, here you go." Almost the idea of a blank check. I feel like Washington's going to keep as much of this core together as they possibly can going forward.
Another run.
And why not, right? I mean, you're in a position where you've got some guys near the end of their career that why not make a run at another one if you can afford to do it? Why wouldn't you? I mean, and if you're John Carlson, I mean, I would almost consider signing a shorter term deal with Washington if it means I've got an opportunity to repeat. And let's face it, Washington, by the sounds of it, has been very good to him over the years. So, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? If they're willing to offer you $8 million over 4 years, like $8 million a year over 4 years, why not? You just won a cup with them. Why not? Why not play with Ovechkin for a couple more years, right? You're still playing with one of the best players in hockey. Why not? Why not take that chance and see what happens?
For sure. Kovalchuk?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I'm on the same line as Justin right now. Like, it's such a crapshoot with how that's going to play out. And, I mean, Kovalchuk's going to be Kovalchuk. He's going to go for the money. If a team offers him $6 or $7 million for 1 year, yeah, he's probably going to go there. And I don't think it matters who the team is, to be honest. I mean, I feel like, for example, the Detroit Red Wings, who missed the playoffs, if the Detroit Red Wings went and offered Ilya Kovalchuk $7 million for a year, I mean, he might say, "Hey, you know what? I don't think any other team is going to offer me that. I'll go to Detroit for a year." Why not, right? Make some money. Come back to North America and make some money. Why not? It's going to be interesting. That's that's such a weird situation with him coming back because the talent is still there. He's still got the skill to play at that level. So, I mean, I think there will be a team out there that's going to offer them the money to play.
Very good points, Brad, indeed. And you know what? I couldn't agree more with a lot of points, especially with Carlson going to Washington. But I got one interesting fact I want to say to the table, and you guys can let it percolate or let it sit, and we'll adjust it next week. There'll be more rumors. I obviously said LA, San Jose. There's teams that are out there looking for Ilya Kovalchuk. Who's good friends with Kovalchuk, who just won the Stanley Cup? Now, hold on, you guys roll your eyes at this, but Alex Ovechkin. Washington's cap space, yes, I get it. The Capitals' cap space. Yes, it's not the best situation, especially with signing Carlson. I believe they have something around $4 million in room right now, something in that ballpark. There's contracts there. There's guys that might be leaving. They can move. There's contracts that can be moved out. I'll say it right now. Carlson's going to re-sign. I agree with Brad. Ilya Kovalchuk will be a Washington Capital going into next year. Both of them are going to be there. I'm saying that. They're going to fit that in, and they're going to make trades. That will happen. Ovechkin is going to reach out to Ilya, and there's going to be some buddy here, like a LeBron James kind of deal. And let me tell you, Ilya Kovalchuk, for example, is going to fit in nicely. He would fit in nicely in Washington. I know a lot of people may disagree, but I'm going to say that I know the Sharks and Kings. I think the Kings are very interesting because I think that's a great fit because they need a scorer, they need a left winger, they need a winger in general, right winger, whatever. They need someone who can score goals. But something is just eating me inside about the Washington Capitals. I just feel like they're on that high. I feel like they're going to be gamblers. I think they're going to try to spend every dollar that they can. But that's just my opinion. Fellas, we're going to move on to our multiple choice segment here quickly. Just 3 questions. Coming from yours truly today. Didn't give you guys the opportunity today to make questions.
I'm okay with that.
And I'm sure you guys are okay with that. And the reason why is because it's very straightforward questions. that relate, obviously, to the world of hockey, as the multiple choice segment always does. It's going to relate to the Stanley Cup Finals. It's going to relate to the upcoming NHL entry draft, and also another question involving the NHL off-season. So, fellas, rate the emotion of Alex Ovechkin in comparison to other athletes in the National Hockey League that just won a Stanley Cup. Here are your options. Again, question one, rate Alex Ovechkin to the emotion, the excitement of winning the Stanley Cup to these other NHL athletes. Zdeno Chara, the Boston Bruins, screaming, yelling, fist pumping, grabbing that cup, lifting it over his head. I remember his ecstatic moment in Vancouver when he won that. Ray Bourque with the Colorado Avalanche, Joe Sakic calling him over to give him that Stanley Cup. C, Vladdy Konstantinov getting the Stanley Cup from Stevie Wonder himself, Stevie Yzerman with the Detroit Red Wings. Or we'll go with a D, just seeing the Toronto Maple Leafs have a Stanley Cup picture in 1967. And the emotion of them having that excitement. Brad, I'm going to go to you first.
You know what? I mean, that's a hard, it's a hard answer. Only because if you're talking strict excitement, I would compare it to Ray Bourque. But if you're talking like almost
excitement
like
and emotion.
Yeah, but if you're talking about like based on emotional value, it's Vladdy Konstantinov 100%, and it's not even close for me. I mean, I'm gonna go with Vladdy Konstantinov just because I feel like that's, it was just one of those ones that just kind of pulled at the heartstrings a little bit. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Ray Bourque one was great, but the Konstantinov one just pulled at the heartstrings a little more. And yeah, it was one of those ones that was really emotional to watch.
Justin, I like that. Good answer, Brad.
Closest to compare it to is probably Ray Bourque for me. But I mean, if I have to pick, I'm going off the board and I'm saying E. It's comparable to Alex Ovechkin in 2018 winning the Stanley Cup. Like, I don't really think there's anything that compares to like the raw childhood emotion he had of winning that Stanley Cup. Like, I haven't seen anyone that joyful. Is that like honestly, like, it was just pure happiness. That's all it was. There's not a comparable moment to me. There's not. That's like a culmination of everything he wanted to do in his life, and he did it. And now he gets to try and do it again. So for me, like, it's in terms of happiness, Ray Bourque, but in terms, like, if I had to compare it to just raw emotion, there's nothing for me.
So he's going with Ray Bourque for the answer, but if he could steal an E, I'm not letting you steal an E for other. But very good point. My answer, I gotta go with Vladimir Konstantinov. The emotion, the just the excitement. Even he was excited. I know despite what was happening. I remember that moment I was 5 years old, going on 6. I was just a little guy. I remember seeing that. That made me absolutely love Steve Yzerman. That guy is literally the best leader I've ever seen in hockey. One of. I like to say Ray Bourque. I watched that live too when Joe Sakic called him over and said, "Ray, get your ass over here. This is your cup." Joe didn't even look. He picked it up and went right to Ray for him. So, but I got to go with Konstantinov. I feel that was definitely the deal breaker there for me. Number 3, very interesting one. It's going to be a very difficult one for you to answer, fellas. Not going to lie. Alex Ovechkin wins the Stanley Cup this year. Which happened? The upcoming Olympics are in 4 years. Ovechkin has told the NHL basically to suck it if they can't go to the Olympics by then. Now that he's won a cup, now that he's done all he's done in the NHL, if the NHL does not go to the Olympics in 2022, 2022, now that he's won the cup, does Alex Ovechkin leave the NHL without hesitation now? Because he's done it. And that's option A, yes. Option B, no. Or option C, the NHL will settle by then, and Ovechkin can continue to play in the National Hockey League, and he'll be able to go to the Olympics. Brad, over to you.
You know what? I'm going to jump on and say C. I have this weird feeling that the NHL knows they made a mistake not going to the Olympics and winds up going back to the next Olympics, and this isn't an issue.
I'm trying to think here, Brad. I like that answer. See, but I'm going to go next, Justin, if that's okay with you. I'm going to say that he does. The NHL will not settle. The NHL will not settle.
If they don't settle, I feel he'll go.
Yeah, Alex Ovechkin is going to leave the NHL. He'll terminate his contract, and he'll go play in the Olympics now that he's accomplished what he has. I'm going to say that. He said that he will do that. Already said he wants to do that. This is before he's won the Stanley Cup. Now that he's won the Cup, that just gives him more of a push. He's accomplished this. He's never won a gold medal. He wants to win that. His country will probably pay him he'll pay him to go to the KHL. He'll make double what he's making in the National Hockey League almost. And he will have a chance to win a gold medal. So I'm going to go yes, he would leave the National Hockey League, and that no, the NHL will not settle by then. Justin.
I mean, I'm just going to agree with you on the basis that Ovechkin's contract is up in 2021. So,
Nice. There you go.
I mean, he can just walk. See you later.
Oh, absolutely.
Go to Russia
Without
and call it a
question,
career.
if the NHL's not there.
And I really don't think that, given the stubbornness of the NHL and the stubbornness of the Olympic Committee, I don't really see this being sorted out. But I mean, there's things that I want to compare this to that aren't radio friendly. So I just think this is going to be a never-ending battle of the immovable object with the unstoppable force. And the only people that get hurt are the fans and the players, really. But yeah, no, Ovechkin walk from the NHL, go to the Olympics, win one in Russia, fill out his trophy case, and call it a career.
For sure. He already has the gray hairs going, so I'm sure he's getting older quickly than others. But jokes aside, Alex Ovechkin, I feel that's a good point that he will take the leap to the KHL and retire winning a gold medal in the Olympics. Because if the NHL doesn't go to the next Olympics, Russia will probably be favorites once again to win that Olympics. So, fellas, that's going to be our multiple choice segment. That's what's going to wrap it up for the National Hockey League discussion. But we're going to take a quick break because when we come back, we still have to talk about Drew Bannister's departure to the, well, even should say departure, promotion to the AHL to San Antonio. We're going to hear from our sponsors before I bring Brad in to discuss on that. And then we will conclude the show with some Toronto Blue Jays chat as well. So don't go anywhere. Dave McKeag alongside Justin Heichel and Brad Cochmelio on live on location at Boston Pizza. We're right back after these messages.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional home to the Game Sports Show, Canadian franchise Boston Pizza. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, located on 601 Great Northern Road, Sault Ste. Marie. Come in and join Boston Pizza for its numerous specials that are offered. After 9 p.m. daily, come in to Boston Pizza for $9 schooners, $4 rail drinks, and delicious food. Boston Pizza, Sault Ste. Marie, you're among friends.
Thank you for tuning in to the Game Sports Show, broadcasting Thursday nights from Boston Pizza in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, and online at thegamesportshow.podbean.com. I hope you're enjoying the broadcast. Now, if you want to hear more of the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national talk show involving the world of sports, I encourage you to visit our website, thegamesportshow.com. There you can hear a couple other broadcasts of the Game Sports Show. Monday nights, we do the game from the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street in downtown Sioux, Michigan, 6 to 7 o'clock on the radio. WUPN, Eagle 95.1 locally or online at radioeaglesioux.com. Now, the full 2-hour show can be heard on the podcast page of the game at thegamesportshow.podbean.com, or you can go to our YouTube channel. Just look for Scott Nason in that one, as yours truly, along with Dave McKeag and our weekly contributors, Butch Davis from the Telegram News and Butch on Sports, along with EJ Russell on the Team Wireless Hot Seat. We focus on local, regional, and national sports, including high school basketball and hockey, junior hockey, Laker athletics, and the Detroit sports scene. And Mr. Electric Avenue Dave McKeag also broadcasts a show on Wednesday night from Sports Center Bar and Grill in Sioux, Ontario, along with his regular contributors Jamie Antonello, Justin Heichel, and and Dane Hantro. They focus on football with their In the Pocket segment, talking about the NFL along with basketball and the NBA, and other sports including tennis, golf, soccer, and the WWE. Once again, you can hear all three versions of the game at our website, thegamesportshow.com, or our podcast page, thegamesportshow.podbean.com. You can also find us on YouTube. Just look for the Scott Nason channel. And thank you for listening, and keep it locked here to The Game for all your local, regional, and national sports talk that you just can't get enough of.
Get Wicked Catering from the crew at the Wicked Sister.
We like to think of ourselves as foodies. While our favorite foods are paired with a beer tasting at the Wicked Sister, you can now have the same creative menu for your next catered business luncheon, family get-together, wedding, or holiday party. Our white truffle risotto appeals to your gluten-free and vegetarian guests. Add sautéed shrimp or freshly grilled chicken for a pop of protein. Or let us build you a custom menu to suit your needs. From plated events of 15 to buffets for 200, the Wicked Sister will cater your event with tapas, snacks, cravables, or a full sit-down dinner.
The Wicked Sister, where you'll be treated like family, whether you like it or not.
Check out our brand new website, up and running now at thegamesportshow.com. There you can find past broadcasts of all our shows from the Wicked Sister in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, and Boston Pizza and Sports Center Bar and Grill in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. As well, you can find our brand new t-shirts available for just $25 a shirt. All sizes are available, and proceeds will go towards Northern Critters in Need and Big Brother, Big Sister of Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Now you can purchase the shirt by emailing thegamesportshowssm@gmail.com. Please state the total amount of shirts and size needed. They have payment options available, e-transfer, or cash upon delivery, as a shirt can be delivered to your location if you live in the Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, and Ontario area, free of charge. TheGameSportsShow.com, where you find all your local, regional, and national sports that you just can't get enough of.
Hi, this is Paul Maurice from the Winnipeg Jets, and you're listening to the Game Sports Show.
Welcome back to the Game Sports Show. It's yours truly, David McKeag, alongside Brad Kochmelio and Justin Heichel here at Boston Pizza Sault Ste. Marie. It's after 9 p.m. for their daily specials. Got to make sure you come on by for those $9 schooners, $4 rail drinks, and the half price off appetizers, and where you're among friends at Boston Pizza. Brad, we're going to go to the topic that we didn't get touched to yet with the junior hockey local ranks with Drew Bannister. Moving on to the American Hockey League, to San Antonio. And we're going to get your thoughts and your updates on that, just to give the fans that are intrigued to know why he moved potentially, the opportunity that is presented to him, as it's obviously a great opportunity for him to move up, and that is the plan when you coach the OHL. You want to move up, as you know, I'm sure Raftis will attest. You know, you bring in coaches, you hope they grow, and hope they grow as individuals, and coaches in that matter to grow into other leagues, and Bannister's having the opportunity to go to the American Hockey League. Then when we're done discussing that, we're going to jump into a little Toronto Blue Jays chat before we conclude our show. So Brad, I'm going to give you the floor with a Drew Bannister update on his promotion.
So basically, I mean, it's pretty typical situation in the sense that when you only lose 50 games over 3 years in junior hockey, you get on the radar pretty quick. And it was a situation where Drew Bannister was on the radar for a lot of teams. There was talk of him potentially going to Belleville, which is the Ottawa Senators farm team. So he was born in that area, I believe, so that would have been kind of a homecoming for him. But he decides to go with the San Antonio Rampage. When I talked to him during the week, it was basically a situation where he told me it was the perfect fit for him. He kind of looked at it as a similar situation to when he got hired here in the Sioux. It's a new franchise in the sense that it's a 5-year agreement between the Blues and the Rampage. So now St. Louis is sending all of their prospects to San Antonio to play. Last year the Blues were the only NHL team without a full-time affiliate because there was 31 NHL teams and only 30 American League teams. So they've got a full-time affiliate there now. So it's a fresh start for Drew Bannister, and he's really excited about it. And, I can't say I blame him. I mean, like you said, you coach junior hockey to want to move up. If you're a young guy, that's what you want to do. You want to move up to the pros, and for him, this is the best way to do it, is to get some experience in the American League. And as far as the Greyhounds are concerned, I mean, this is this is a team that, you heard the rumblings ahead of time, so you knew there was the potential. Kyle Roftis told me, teams were approaching him about Drew Bannister prior to the end of the season. And as soon as that announcement was made on Tuesday morning, it was one of those things where the calls started coming in more and more. And, for me, that's going to be, that Greyhound job is going to be a desirable job for a lot of potential coaches based on the fact that the last 2 coaches who have been behind the bench for the Greyhounds have lasted less than 6 years total, because both of them ended up getting pro jobs after essentially year 3.
Sheldon and now obviously Bannister.
Yeah, Sheldon Keefe after about 2.5 years, and now Drew Bannister. Both guys moved up after their 3rd year, so it's going to be a tough situation for the Greyhounds because they're going to want to bring in a guy who fits their system. It's no different than bringing in a player. You don't want to bring in a coach who coaches a defensive system when you've already built your organization to be, a puck possession team. And you're in a position now where you've already gone through a draft. It would be different if this was 4 years from now where you started retooling. But I feel like they're going to get a lot of interest from a lot of different guys. Drew Bannister Kyle Roftis told me, there have been guys with very different resumes that have applied, and different in the sense that, it hasn't necessarily just been tier 2 guys. There are guys with major junior experience. Sounds like there might even be some guys with pro experience as well. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, they would obviously rather have it done sooner rather than later. When Sheldon Keefe got his job and Drew Bannister joined the team, it was about a month. Following Keefe's move to Drew Bannister's hiring, so I wouldn't be shocked if by mid-July they have a head coach in place.
I know there's been a lot of rumors about who will be, a lot of front runners, a lot of local media guys. Won't mention any names because it's not you. I'm not going to say you. We know,
we know who you're talking about. Yeah.
But that have said certain names. Do you think it's accurate that they have somebody in mind, or are they keeping an open mind about it?
You know what? I mean, in talking to Kyle Roftis, they're keeping an open mind on this. I mean, they're not going to, and one thing that Kyle told me, and I found it really interesting, was, he's kind of looking at it the same way that, he looked at the Drew Bannister hiring. When they hired Drew Bannister was the guy that was at the top of their list. He was the guy they wanted to hire for that job. But they still went through the process of interviewing people because, essentially what Kyle Roftis told me was you learn about people that you may have a preconceived notion of what a guy is all about, but until you meet him and sit down with him and actually interview him and go through that process, he might come in and surprise you. He might come in and be a totally different person than what you expected and knock your socks off. But if you don't go through that process, you're not going to know that, right? So they're going to go through the process. I mean, they may have. I know Kyle Roftis said they're at that point, and this was on Tuesday when I talked to him. At that point, they did have some guys in mind, but they hadn't heard from them yet. So I mean, there are guys I'm sure that they're potentially wanting to bring in, but I mean, it's a situation where you're going to have to wait and let it and see how it plays out. I mean, I'm sure some of the people that have been mentioned will probably, I wouldn't be shocked if they apply. But, I mean, it's got to be the right fit for the team, too. I mean, it's got to be a guy who's going to fit the system well. You're not going to hire a guy just for the sake of, well, he's got a history with the organization or he's got a history in the city. You can't hire by that. You have to hire by who's the guy that's going to be the best fit and do the job to your standards.
Very interesting to see who they do bring in. I will say that the article that I read about who they're rumored, there's one guy, Jones, that really stuck out to me. Bobby Jones was one that really stuck out to me. And just to give a little joke thing out there, I'm sure Justin's going to laugh about this. No, I am not applying to the job. I know I have coaching background with the Blind River Beavers, but no, yours truly is not applying to the head coaching job of the Sioux Greyhounds. The Game Sports Show is where it's at for me. So that does it for kind of the Bannister update. And get the final thoughts on that. I think it's promotion with Bannister. I mean, a lot of people are saying, why did he take that? Why did he... No. Who in the hell would say that? It's like me starting an entry-level job and moving my ass up the ranks. And I'm swearing a couple times because it annoys me when people, I wouldn't have mind Bannister staying as well. But let's face it. The Hounds are probably not going to have as good as a year as they did this year. Okay, if they do, I hope to God we do, because they're going to be a big part of our show next year. So I hope that they are. But I'm saying, we're looking at it now, they were favorites to win not only the OHL championship, the Memorial Cup this year. Okay, those are some steep expectations to match. Okay, unless they go into the first week of the year and they make some deals and things happen. All right, but right now, looking at it, we're looking at a team that, yes, I think it's a playoff team, 100%. Is going to be a successful team. But are they going to have the same presence on the ice that they did this year? Beg to differ. I don't think it's going to be the same. I hope it is, though. So Bannister might not have as good as a year next year. Might not even be as good as a year. Maybe it's going to be lower seeded in the conference. We don't know. So Bannister wanted to make this run this year. Didn't happen. Him moving on was a good thing for his career. You got to look out for yourself. Priority number one is yourself, and especially when it comes to career, and he had a great opportunity here in San Antonio. Sheldon's running away with it with the Toronto Marlies, obviously. Marlies being literally one win away for Toronto having a freaking championship in that city. And let me tell you, yes, the Marlies were a very well-tuned team when he got there. I understand. And Dubas put him in a good position, but at the end of the day, you still need to coach that team. You still need to get your players to perform. These are good coaches, both Sheldon and Drew. So Drew took a good step forward in his career. Congratulations to Drew, and hopefully we can get him on the show. Somehow I know I'm kind of looking at Brad with that, with good old Sault Ste. Brad Kochmelio. But you can check out Sault Ste. As well for that update on that release. But hopefully we can get Drew on here before the season starts, and we can have a good interview for you, the listeners, to hear that with. So that does it with the little hockey portion chat. We're going to jump right into Toronto Blue Jays chat quickly for not even 5 minutes. I'm going to bring Justin back in here. Brad, you're already in here. So, fellas, I just want to touch on the Toronto Blue Jays right now are 30 and 35. 5 games below 500. Third in the AL East. Well behind, let's just say well behind the New York Yankees and Boston Red Sox. And, you know, let's be real here. Playoffs are not looking too reachable at this current point. I know there's still just under 100 games to go. Look at the Oakland Athletics and Moneyball. Look at that run that happened. Look at the Miracle Mets that happened in the 60s. There's things that happen, I understand, but I don't know if you were able to hear that. I've only been able to name 2. So it's a rarity that does happen. The Jays were 50 and 51 the one year they made the playoffs a couple years ago when they lost to Kansas City, but they made some big moves to get to that point, and Toronto doesn't have that ability to make those moves now unless they want to eat up their entire prospect pool, which is what they will not do. Blue Jays being 30 and 35, they literally, though, Justin, they just walked all over the Baltimore Orioles. They swept Baltimore, and Baltimore's a team that's absolutely struggling, full of trade rumors of Manny Machado and everything. Did the Blue Jays just beat up on a very depleted ball team in Baltimore?
I mean,
well, I guess they didn't beat them 13-3 each game, but they did beat them 4 straight. So,
the unfortunate part with the analysis on this series is that someone had to win. That's honestly people who know me know I'm not like the most dedicated baseball fan, but like the Jays started off the season and they looked like they had a little bit of oomph. Like they looked like maybe they were going to do something. Maybe they were going to be a wild card team. And the waves of emotion they've taken us on since then, like, oh, their pitching's terrible. Oh, their pitching's okay. Oh, Vladdy Jr. Oh, Vladdy Jr.'s out for 4 weeks. Like, come on. This is like the Maple Leafs from 6 years ago. This is exactly what this is like. Like, so I think the Blue Jays are... The Blue Jays are just cementing themselves as the worst team in Toronto sports right now. That's in fairness, in the Toronto sports power rankings, that's not a bad thing. I mean, the Argos won a Grey Cup. Toronto FC won the championship. The Raptors got LeBron.
Yeah,
and then
as they do every year.
Then LeBron got J.R. Smith. And I mean, like the Marlies are looking at winning. Or, I mean, knock on wood, but they're in the final. The Leafs made it to the first round. So the Jays just got to make the playoffs, and they're back into the swing of things. But they're rough. Like, it's going to be a rough 100 games. That's what I think we're in for here.
Very blunt. Very blunt, as always, Justin. Very rough 100 few games. I like to say that. To say the least, I agree. Brad? How about those beloved Blue Jays that we loved so much for the last 2 years, and everyone was, hey, hooray to Blue Jay baseball. Baseball Canada saved. 36 million people going to games. Big.
Brad's a Tigers fan.
Yeah, but let's get into that. Brad, being a Tigers fan, was probably rolling his eyes at the fad that the Toronto Blue Jay fans were. Me being a Toronto Blue Jay fan since I was a little guy, waited 20 years, literally. That's something I can say I waited 20 years for them to make that run that they had. I know, coming from a Tiger, okay. Okay, so
you can top all of that in like.
And I'm gonna let you top that right now. First, the Blue Jays, though. How's the next 100 games gonna look, my friend?
It's going to depend on their starting pitching. I mean, I've been saying that their starting pitching was expected to be what was going to carry this organization this year, and they have not got the job done. It's that simple.
They're supposed to have the bet. I think it was top 10, even top 5. Yeah. It was what we predicted on our show was top 10 in baseball for starting pitching, and it hasn't lived up to that.
Yeah, I mean, there was. You look at any of the the major league experts, and all of them were saying that Toronto's starting rotation was high end, like it was solid, and it hasn't been. If they get better starting pitching, I don't know that they are good enough to win the division, but they are at least good enough to be a lot more competitive than they have been.
Now the Tigers, Brad. I think you want to share a comment about the Tigers?
Okay, so I was 2 years old when the Detroit Tigers won their last World Series in 1984. You weren't even born then, were you, Dave?
91 I am, sir.
See? And no one can ever say I was a bandwagon Tigers fan because I went through a 43 and 119 loss season, which is the second worst in Major League history. And that's a team that I believe won 6 or 7 in a row at the end of the year to avoid being the worst team in Major League history. And if anyone thinks that I am ever going to be a bandwagon fan, I will throw this out. I am a Detroit Lions fan. I went through an 0-16 season. So I went through 2 of the worst seasons in pro sports history.
You did see the Wings win cups.
Thankfully, I've seen the Wings win cups because the rate things are going, it might be a while before our Red Wing team wins a cup too. So I am by no means a bandwagon guy, but I mean, yeah, it's you go through cycles. I mean, I look at the Tigers. I mean, that was an organization that lost 119 games in 2003. Added guys like Justin Verlander through the draft. 3 years later, they were in the World Series. So I mean, you could rebuild quickly in the majors. And I mean, I've said it on this show before. It might be a situation where the Toronto Blue Jays might need to look at that as a distinct possibility at this point of just full-out rebuild.
Trading Josh Donaldson.
Well, and that's what I mean, right? The Detroit Tigers went through that in terms of trading a guy like Justin Verlander. I mean, I'm sure that was the hardest thing for them to do, but they went and traded their ace. And hey, I was excited as anyone to see Justin Verlander win a World Series. But for the Detroit Tigers, that was the best case scenario, was deal some of your high-end guys and start building through the draft. Drafting Casey Mize this year, first overall. Everyone talks about him as, coming out of Auburn as a high-end pitcher. That's where it starts.
I believe a lot of the comparisons were to Steven Strasburg. A lot of it was it, I believe.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and that's. I mean, who knows? I mean, not to put any undue pressure on the kids. Like we said earlier with the NHL draft, you don't want to get too excited. But I mean, he's a potential Justin Verlander type. He's a guy that could change the organization if he ends up filling out his ability.
I love that in the world of sports. The what if factor, so big in the world of sports. And speaking of what if, I like people's comments. What if Vlad has a reoccurring injury with his knee? Shut the hell up.
4 weeks.
My God, it's just 4 weeks. The kid is not even 20. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is 19 years old. He's a 99. I'm a 91. I'm old. If I heard a knee injury, I'm out for a month or 2, okay? He's out for just a month, not the 2.
If I have a knee injury now, I'm out for my career.
And let me tell you, Vlad Jr. is going to rest this. He's having a great season. I'm not quoting Tony the Tiger there. I'm just saying flat out that Vlad Jr. is going to be fine, fans. It won't be reoccurring. Don't rush him back into action. He'll be back. He'll be good to go. And when he comes back, he'll be hotter than ever. And then a month after that, figure it out. It'll be August. Be getting pretty close to that expansion time in September for rosters. That's when you're going to see Vladdy Jr. get into the roster for the Jays. I'm going to say it right now. So, fellas, the Toronto Blue Jays continue their action against the Tampa Bay Rays. They hopefully continue their hot ways. They hopefully try to climb back to 500 and try to build momentum to try to pursue that playoff spot that they so desire. Still early to talk about that, but hey, got to start somewhere and get a winning streak started somewhere. Maybe getting those wins in Baltimore. Some of them not convincing because they did wins by 1-1, but today being 13-3, maybe the Blue Jays could take a step in the right direction and try to get some more wins underneath their belts. And the Blue Jays definitely need to try to get to winning ways quickly if they want to try to make a run at the postseason. Because if you get behind too early, it will be too late. Because there's only a few moments in sports, like I said, with Oakland and with the Miracle Mets and even Toronto back in the 2016 season, that those seasons happen often. So, fellas, that does it for the show tonight. Justin, Brad, been a great show as always. Very straightforward show. Stanley Cup final chat, little NHL chat, local chat, baseball chat. Ovechkin's probably still partying right now as we speak. The guy is absolutely crap-faced right now.
I think we need to go to Washington and join them.
I think we should.
In our budget?
I have to ask the directors on that one. I can guarantee you when Toronto wins the cup, we'll be there for that. That I can guarantee you, because I'll fund it if we can't get the money from the directors. But Brad, I want to say thanks for coming on by. Thursday, you'll be here?
Absolutely. Wouldn't miss it.
Brad, Justin?
Always.
Thanks for coming by, my friend. I didn't add that to that point.
Oh, you're welcome. That's per usual. I'm here for the good company. And
little rumor tells me you're getting a tattoo of our logo on your bottom cheek.
It's rumor's news to me, but
Brad, I heard you getting one too.
Well, that rumor mill goes around fast, doesn't it?
In the Sioux, yeah. Little isolation tank.
So, some of them are generally not accurate, but we know how people talk. So
I think I would put it right on my chest with both your faces on it. No, I'm just kidding.
That would be a very scary thing, David. Let's just leave it at that.
I wanted to end on that on a nice little funny note. Fellas, we'll be back here on Thursday this week at Boston Pizza. Will be here at the usual time at 9 o'clock. It'll be myself, Brad Kochmelio, and Justin Heichel with hopefully some special guests that we're going to hopefully announce later this week by Wednesday on our Sports Center show, where myself, Jamie Antonello, and Matt Primo, and also Justin Heichel will be stopping by for a little pre-take as well. But having Matt Primo, we're going to announce that he will be on the show on Wednesdays doing the SaberCats and local football updates with interviews from himself and local players on the SaberCats as well. And that's live at SportsCenter at 9 p.m. every second Wednesday for the summer until September. Then after Labor Day weekend, we'll be back to once a week at SportsCenter. Tomorrow night, which is Monday, June the 11th, myself and Scott Nason will be at the Wicked Sister. Myself and Scott will be joined by EJ Russell and Butch Davis as we talk local sports, we talk NHL Stanley Cup Finals, and a variety of sports as we always do on the Game Sports Show on Mondays from the Wicked Sister. And looking forward to that show as well. You can follow the Game Sports Show on thegamesportshow.podbean.com. Check out our website, www.thegamesportshow.com. Look at previous shows, listen to previous shows, check out our sponsors page and our merchandise page where you can purchase a t-shirt for $25 with 100% of proceeds going towards charities Northern Critters in Need and Big Brother, Big Sister. Now, fellas, I must give another shout out to Scott Nason, our board operator tonight as well, and the bringer of beer, Mitch Wilson, the beautiful Lauren, who left, gave us a wave on our mid-chat. She bolted out the door, she bailed. And obviously to you, the listeners, for coming on by to the Game Sports Show tonight on our little adjusted date edition of the Game Sports Show. We'll be back to our normal schedule next week. And I want to give a shout out to Andrew Nathan Tree, who is also in presence here tonight and also has donated some products potentially to the Game Sports Show as well. So I give him a shout out for keeping us company here tonight and also, for his input on the Game Sports Show from the scenes as well. And I must add, Stanley Cup Finals with Alexander Ovechkin. Let me know what you think. If you're excited, tweet some pictures at the Game Sports Show. Also, follow our Instagram at the Game Sports Show, SSM, and you can tag us in pictures as well, and we'll definitely get back with comments with that. You can reach out to myself, Justin, or Brad on Facebook Brad being part of Sioux Today, make sure you check out his articles on there. You can also reach out to Scott Nason. You can also check out our YouTube channel, Scott Nason's YouTube channel as well. But also make sure to email us at thegamesportshow@gmail.com for that merchandise I was talking about. And also just ask us questions and what you think. And also don't be shy to comment on the Podbean page, thegamesportshow.podbean.com, in regards to the show and also your thoughts about Alexander Ovechkin's habits with the Stanley Cup to this current date. Now to conclude the show, the famous ending of the show. Keep your stick on the ice, swing your bat, catch your touchdown, drain your threes, and shoot your shots. Booyah.